Welcome to Raise Your Vibe and Heal. Have you ever wondered what it's like to stand in front of 4 or 500 people and deliver messages from spirit as a medium? What makes a good medium, or what it should be like to work with a medium? Today's guest is Sherry Gallant. Sherry is a renowned medium with over 2 decades of experience, making her an influential figure in the field of spiritual communication. Her dedication to helping others is evident in her multifaceted approach, combining her skills as an end-of-life doula, grief coach, teacher, and holistic practitioner. Sherry's extensive training at the College of Traditional Chinese Medicine enriches her practice, allowing her to offer a unique blend of ancient wisdom and compassionate guidance. Her empathetic nature and profound insights have touched countless lives, providing comfort and clarity to those navigating the complexities of loss and transition. I think you're going to really enjoy today's conversation. Welcome, Sherry, to Raise Your Vibe and Heal. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Hi, Lisa. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh my gosh, it's such a pleasure. And for those of you who are new to Sherry's work, we're going to talk about Sherry's background a little bit and just have a really fun conversation about mediumship and spirituality. And we're just going to see where spirit leads us. But I had the pleasure to meet Sherry through this wonderful book. It's called Gathering at the Doorway. This was curated by Camille Dan. And it's so amazing how spirit brings us together, right, Sherry? I mean, it's
All
just
right.
like our worlds would have never intersected if it hadn't been for this work. So, if you could please share with people about your background, please.
I was with the College of Traditional Chinese Medicine, and I had 2 clinics, and I was always about helping people, and I was a regulated acupuncturist, but then I just felt, I felt that there was more to it. But it wasn't until my car accident in 2002 where I literally ended up in a graveyard, and I was only so many feet away from the gravesite of a very close friend of mine who had passed away, who I had named my son after. And it was just something after that, just things just started to feel, and I started to see things, and I embraced it. It was scary at first, but I embraced it. And today mediumship isn't so taboo anymore. The whole spiritual thing, people know there's more out there. Then it was a little bit scary for me, so I had to do a lot of research and figure out, like, I needed to find like-minded people, and it was really, really hard. And here I am over 20 years later, and I love it. I'm always helping people. I'm an end of life doula. As you know, I do so much. I've done grief coaching because there's just more to it than connecting with spirit. It's us as a whole and the whole spiritual world. And we all know that if we feel good and we're doing well, everybody around us feels good and is doing well. I always say when mom's happy, everybody's happy. It is just so true. But my journey has been amazing. I've met so many amazing people. I just every day is a new day, and my heart just goes out to anybody who has lost somebody. And grieving isn't just about losing someone that we love. There's so many ways people grieve. The loss of a pet, it could be divorce. It's just there's just so many different ways of grieving, and I just enjoy helping people, and I love my journey, and I just can't wait. Every day is a new day, and you just don't know what to expect, and it's very adventurous.
I can hear the passion in your voice. And I really think that's so cool because you have this background in acupuncture. And you also mentioned your spiritual awakening, which with that big major car accident 20 years ago, and you've been on this lifelong journey. I just want to tap into the mediumship here real briefly for those who are relatively new to what mediumship means. And from your experience, what does a good medium do?
Sure. So I'm more about modern mediumship. My son tells me back in the day they probably would have hung me, but today is so different. This is
Mhm.
modern mediumship, and I feel like there's more. Every person is different that sits in front of me, so I can't really say, but it's more or less it's connecting with loved ones on the other side, but also they show us about their path that they're on, that they're things that haven't happened yet. It's not me being psychic, people always ask me, so you're psychic? And I always say, well, I don't really feel that I'm psychic because all the messages that I get are from the spirit world. So
Mhm.
it's not me being psychic. A lot of times, there's things that people haven't even done yet. And then I've received an email afterwards saying, oh my gosh, like I had a certain date that I had given somebody. She sent me an email and she was just so freaked out because took her 3 years. She had her house on the market for 3 years. It ended up selling on that date. I just said there was something really exciting that was going to happen on just for instance, July 6th. It just so happened that that was the day her house ended up selling. So there's so many different things. There's a lot of healing, there's a lot of comfort, whether it's messages of unsaid words. A lot of times people didn't get a chance to say goodbye. I don't believe in goodbyes. It's kind of see you later, but they're also always around us. I lost my mom from leukemia 13 and a half years ago. And there was a time where, I felt her. And there was a time, a couple years where I didn't feel her. And I realized that my life was really good at that moment. And I have siblings, and my siblings were going through something. So she was more or less over helping them and being with them. But there came to a time when I really needed her, and she showed up in full force. And it was amazing. So they're always around us. You don't really need me to connect. We all have that gift. Some of us are just more open, more in tuned. I think a lot of confidence comes with it. Like, oh my God, like, am I seeing things, or is that in my head, or whatever? I am so past that. I am just like, it is what it is. And I just say whatever it is, and it comes. So I'm like a three-way. It's like a three-way call. It's like spirit to me, to the receiver. And I always call the person that's receiving the message the receiver. So it's like a three-way call. So it's like a conduit, and we're messengers. And
Yes.
why it's us, I don't sit there and say, why me? Because why not me? Why not
Mhm.
you? Why not the person? And then, you get into signs, and the signs are there. You just have to ask them. And I always tell people, just ask for something, whether it's just ask for a banana. No, like and there's no bananas around. Then all of a sudden there'll be something. It might not happen at that moment, but it will happen. I guarantee you, like, ask for specific signs. There's a lot of times when people are just want to know that somebody is going to cross over, somebody who is ill. I had spoken to a few people that hospice and palliative care, and people are terrified. Some people are terrified of crossing over. I had a young woman, I'll never forget her. I spoke to for about a year every so often, and she was really terrified of passing. She was a young woman, young mother in her 30s, and she had cancer. And her husband ended up sending me a message, and he says, oh, Kirsten wanted me to tell you that she was no longer afraid just before she passed. So those are
Oh.
the moments that touch me, but those are the things that it's not just about connecting. Listen, there's some people out there who get messages from people that was really, really unexpected. Maybe somebody who wasn't really nice to them while they were here
Mm.
growing up. And, I've had people come in to apologize and let them know. And it just changes. It's something that the receiver needed that has changed their whole life. We don't know how much of an impact, because a lot of times we don't get feedback. You do a session with somebody and then everybody carries on until you get that feedback. You really don't know. And when I get feedback, it's a wow moment for me, because it's healing for me as well. When
Mhm.
I help somebody, it's helping me. And I'm a true believer that what we put out there comes back to us, and 1,000 times over. And right now, the world needs more kindness. It's a crazy world out there. And to be there and just be a listening board. You don't even have to be a medium. Just listen to somebody. And I have clients like that just want somebody to listen to them. I'm not in their circle. I don't know any of them. I don't know their family, their friends. They can just let it all out and it's never going to go anywhere, right?
Yep.
And you meet so many amazing people on so many different journeys, and I've met people who have gone through the worst of the worst situations that you could never imagine somebody passing from, the worst. And it's just a matter of really just be kind and just give. And the mediumship is something that I hold dear. I take it really, really seriously. And I would never do something because there's certain, I call it mediumship etiquette, right? And I do
Yes.
teach workshops and things like that. And one thing, as a study in medium, they get really excited on what they're feeling and what they're going to say. And I call it mediumship etiquette. A mother knows how their child passed away. A mother knows how their child died. They don't need to hear details.
No.
Even though you're like, wow, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. You have to, there's a boundary.
Yep.
Grieving is, you want the person to leave you feeling so much better when they came to you. And something like that, I don't feel is necessary. I always say dealing with people grieving is like walking on eggshells. And if I could just bring them and hold them and comfort them in my arms, I would, but I tried to do the best that I could.
I think that's beautiful. Speaking of etiquette, what makes a good medium? Because there's a lot of people out there who say they are a medium. And what would you say if somebody's looking for a good medium? What kind of things should they be looking for?
Listen, there's some wax out there.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what industry you're in.
That's re
Um,
that's really
I
well
would
said.
I I would say, you can find a lot of things online about them. You can, if they're privately messaging you, no. I've had people make up fake accounts. I'm sure you have too, and stuff like that, and then DM
Mhm.
them privately. We would never send somebody a
No,
message.
no.
But also, I find a good medium, it's about you validating for them, not them
Mhm.
validating for you. Another thing is,
Yes.
I give it 10, 15 minutes. So I
Mhm.
call it my personal dictionary, right? Spirit uses my dictionary to connect with them. So, for example, I had a woman I was doing a session with, and I had seen my son. So I asked her, I'm seeing my son. Do you have a young male, a son figure on the other side? She said, yes. I kept seeing my son through the whole session. So finally, I asked her, does Michael mean anything to you? She rolled up her sleeve and had in memory of Mikey tattooed on her arm.
Oh.
So it's not about, I always say, give me a yes, no, maybe, or I'm not sure.
Mhm.
I give it 10, 15 minutes. I don't want people pulling things out. I'm not gonna say your great grandma is here. Like,
Mhm.
we all have a great grandma on the other side. You
Yes.
know what I mean? There's just
Mhm.
certain things. If you don't feel comfortable with somebody, it's not the feeling. I get so many referrals from other clients. Referrals is great. You can, like I said, do some research and go on their social media and just see what they're putting out there. You need to feel a connection with them. Everybody has a different amount that they charge.
Mm.
And, people study for many years and they charge what they charge. People don't realize that people pay for schooling and thousands of dollars of training and stuff like
Yes.
that. You can't go by that. But I would say you have to trust your gut. You really
Yes.
have to. And they're not going to be mean. They're not going to say mean things to you. They're not going to be negative. They're not going to you have to feel better when you leave. But like
Mhm.
I was saying, I give it 10, 15 minutes. Listen, if I'm sitting here and I'm doing a session for you and I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to say, well, there's a little gray hair lady here and blah, 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 blah. People want to grab onto things. People
Mhm.
who are grieving want it so bad. Not me. I'm like, you have to be honest with me and don't worry about it. Like, I'll be like, you know what? Maybe I'm just not the medium for you. And
Mhm.
that's fine.
Mhm.
Like, just because I don't connect with you doesn't mean I'm a crappy medium, or maybe my life's and everything around me doesn't connect with you. So I say, don't worry about the money, like just carry on. Another thing is I've had widows, I've had mothers who say, "I want this to be a weekly thing." No.
No. Mm-mm.
No, first of all, I would be feeling and taking advantage of somebody's grief, okay?
Yep.
No. I
Mm.
always say, "You want new things going on in your life?" I always say at least like 6, 8, 9, a year from now, you can rebook, but nothing right away. That's really taking advantage, and I don't think there's any reason why people can't have a recording. Like, I find it
Oh, I
very
agree. I agree.
okay?
Do you yeah, do you find that there are mediums who refuse to do
Yes, I
recordings?
do. Yes,
That
I
to
do.
me is that's a red flag right there. If
Yeah,
you're not willing
so
to
so
record,
yeah, so I send them a video, and it's something that they can have and cherish because the hour that you have or the time that you spend with them, there's a lot taken
there is a
in,
lot.
okay? They're
Yes.
gonna forget. There's a lot of things that come up that they're not gonna realize until they speak to somebody and go, "Oh my gosh," or they're gonna say, "Oh my gosh, I forgot about this or that." This is something they can cherish and have forever. And then 6 months down the road or a year, I've had people message me and go, "Oh my gosh, I just listened to my recording from 9 years ago. Wow, you this happened and this happened, and you said this and you said that." So there's no reason for it. And I always say, I don't want people sitting there taking notes, 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 because it's
Yes.
taking their mind away. Just
Yes.
focus on me and spirit and go from there. But just do your research. Like, honestly, do your research. I've had people say, "You're so busy and you're booked, and, can is there any way you can refer somebody?" I don't, because I don't wanna refer somebody. You have to feel a connection with somebody. You
Ooh,
have
I
to be
like
pulled.
that.
You have to be pulled. I can't refer anybody because, that's me. You came to me, you know what I mean? You have to be pulled to
I
somebody.
do. I do know what you mean. That's a really good point. I was gonna ask you that question because are you even accepting clients right now, new clients? Probably not?
Yeah, I opened up a couple dates, I think, but they might be filled for the fall. But
Okay.
like, and then into yes, but I've been working on workshop. I've got so many other things that I've been working on. So
Yes.
the readings are very draining for me. It really like sucks like my energy, and some can be way draining, where when I'm doing a session for a mom who has lost a child, and the emotions and that are going on through the whole hour, sometimes I'll have to reschedule the next appointment because I'm just exhausted, because and I've had people angry about it. Well, I've been waiting 8 months for this, but I want to give you my best as well.
My perspective, Sherry, as a person who I work more with the energy itself. The energy,
Mhm.
as a medical intuitive, and I can sense and feel the energy. I think that's really important that you honor what it is that you need, and so that you can show up for your clients. Because I agree, there can be a lot of energy that can be released, and as healing it as it is for the client, it's still a process. And so honoring that is really important. And I also love the fact that you were talking about the recordings, because what I share with clients is watch your recording as you feel guided. The reason
Yeah.
is it's an energetic connection. It's an energetic connection between you, the client, and of course, spirit source. And there's a beautiful energy bond that's happening during that session. And so not only will you get additional information or be reminded of things that happened during the conversation, because we can have that amnesia, but the energy from that connection is absolutely 100% part of that recording. So
Yeah.
good for you for honoring that energetic boundary so that you can show up fully and be completely present for your client. I get that. If we do too many of those, and it's not that I don't feel it's necessarily that you're giving your energy away, but you're facilitating so much energy
Mhm.
that to carry that bandwidth is, well, heck, it's just like when you go for a run. You're not going to go for a run and then go take another run. It's like you're facilitating a tremendous amount of energy. So you
Yes.
have to honor what your body needs. So good for you. I just want to interject that a little
And
bit.
another thing too, when people, like just normal people, when they walk into a room and if somebody's in a bad mood and you're around them, that drains you. Like,
It
you
does.
feel their energy, and
Yeah.
it drains you, and it's exhausting. A lot of times people are like, "Why do I feel so tired?" What kind of energy are you having around you right now? Like,
Mhm.
when my husband walks through the door, I'll be like, "What's wrong?" And he's just like, "Nothing." And I'm like, "No, I feel that energy." He's like, "You freak me out."
No, not after this long. How many years? You've been married a while,
I
right?
know. He nothing
He's
surprises
joking.
him anymore.
No.
Nothing surprises him anymore. But it's true, when you're around a Debbie Downer
Yeah.
or it sucks that energy out of you too.
Mhm.
And family is the worst. But
It
you
is
know
the
what?
worst.
Family, you gotta love them at a distance sometimes
Yeah, you
because
do.
it's
You
just
do.
you do. It's just send them good vibes and that. And I always tell people too, like, listen, sometimes like lying, okay, you're not, it's not a great thing to do, but sometimes you need to tell that little bit of a fib just for your own health and your own mindset. It's like, if all of a sudden it's like somebody's on the phone and it's like they're just like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Wah, wah.
Oh my gosh, the Amazon driver's at the door. Let me call you right back. And then just say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm
Gotta
sorry."
go.
A couple days later, oh, one thing led to another. You have to protect your energy. It's
You
so
do.
important.
You do. Well, there's the Map of Consciousness by David R. Hawkins, and they're scientifically did all these studies and scientifically tested these different vibrational frequencies from the lower vibrational frequencies of fear, anger, all those to your higher vibrational frequencies of peace and love and joy. And so, if you are an energetic mismatch for whoever is struggling, you're going to feel it. And that's the beauty of our energetic connection is that we are feeling it and honoring. And what you said is perfect, because for those of you that are walking in a room and you're feeling this, it's okay to set energetic boundaries. A helpful tip is imagine a beautiful gold shower or white light shower from spirit, from source, bathing you and keeping you protected or insulated from the energy. But if it's still
Mhm.
too much, it is absolutely within your right to walk away from that situation, because you
Yeah.
don't need to carry that energy with you. So yeah, no, I get that.
Exactly. And when I was with the College of Traditional Chinese Medicine, it was a lot about energy.
Yeah.
Chinese medicine is a lot about energy. And I remember even with acupuncture and this will kind of tell you a little bit even about energy because somebody who had a missing leg, there's always that phantom leg. They always still had aches and pains because even
Mhm.
though we don't physically see their leg, we call it the phantom leg or phantom arm. And they still, and you worked on the energy as if the leg was still there. And another thing too is you can literally physically, mentally make yourselves ill.
Oh my
And
gosh, yes.
please, please, it's not worth it. The one thing, and I say this to so many people, the one thing I can really take away of all the things I learned in Chinese medicine, there's so much, but this one stood out to me, and it was the word disease. And the word disease came from your body being at dis-ease. When your body's at dis-ease, disease happens. And when you're worrying and we have to
Mhm.
really protect your energy. Like when my mother was a warrior ward, my mother was so healthy, didn't smoke, didn't drink, never sat in the sun. She was white as a ghost. She vitamins, everything. Cancer doesn't run in my family. She ended up with a bruise and leukemia, but she was a worry ward. She
Mhm.
worried about everything. She held everything in. And I used to say to her, you have to stop. Like it really, you can sit there and think you have a headache. You're going to get a headache. You can sit there and feel nauseous. You're going to get nauseous. That is not good for your body.
No, everything starts in that energetic field. I find often when I work with clients that they'll present with a physical symptom, and then as spirit is showing where the energy wants to move and shift, all of a sudden a memory may come forward, or I'll see something, and then, or there's an accident or there's an injury that was involved, but that emotion of what happened during that accident or that injury can still be within the physical body, but
Mhm.
everything starts in that energetic field. And if we're attracting those lower vibrational frequencies, our physical body is going to say, okay, that's the state we're in. And you can have the genetic markers or not have the genetic
Yes.
markers for, say,
Yes.
cancer or those types of things. But the state that you present yourself with those energies can absolutely manifest.
I
It's
truly believe that. I
100%.
and and there's a piece of paper that my sister-in-law has that she showed me just recently that was one of the last things my mom wrote. and it was a little piece of paper, and it's in her handwriting. My mother couldn't talk because she had had a stroke too, and
Oof.
she had written down, "Take care of your health." Those were
Okay.
her last words, "Take care of your health." My father-in-law is gonna be 94, and I say to him, "How do you, like, wake up in the morning?" He just got diagnosed with onset dementia, but he's
Okay.
94.
94, yeah.
He's lived a great life
Yeah.
and a fun one, let me mention. I
Aw.
say to him, like, "How do you wake up in the morning?" And he's like, he says, "I wake up in the morning and I'm just glad I'm alive." He goes, "But when I move, I know I'm 94." Our bodies deteriorate, but our
Yeah.
souls stay so young. It's
Mhm.
our spirit and our souls. We're humans living in a spirit world, and our
Yeah.
bodies deteriorate and they fall apart, but our spirits live on. And people are starting to realize it now. People are really, really waking up that there is more out there, and people are like, "What about hell and hell?" I believe in God. I believe we all have the same God. We just call them different.
Mhm.
And I believe the higher power, and I believe that. But we can't love somebody, we can't love our children as much as we love our children and our spouses and our parents, and one day that just leaves. It's impossible. It just doesn't happen.
I wanna ask you this.
Yes.
So, when you have a platform and
Yeah.
you're working with, I don't know how many
Events.
people. Yeah,
Mhm.
but your events, yeah, I don't know how many people are at your events.
There's usually 4 or 500.
Okay, that's a nice amount.
Yeah.
Share walk and that okay, I can just imagine the energy in the room in that. So, if you can walk us through your process, what is it like for Sherry Gallant in front of
Yeah.
400 or 500 people, and how do you discern the information? How does that process work where you start connecting with spirit?
So I'll give you an example. Usually, if when I'm in the change room preparing and stuff like that, there'll usually be somebody hanging out. Usually, and the one time I came out, but I just felt this energy. I'm at the point where I can really zone in on one.
Okay.
I've learned to I always say I have a deal with spirit because people ask me this all the time. If you're in a grocery store, if you're this, I have a deal. I say I have this deal with spirit, and it is when I'm enjoying life and having fun, don't bother me. I will
Amen.
always be there with you. This is the deal. I love theater. I love events. I love all these people. I had this one person. Sometimes they get me to do some crazy stuff too. And I had this one person, and what happened was he was like, he wanted me to sing this song. And I can't remember the song, but it was a rock song. And I'm like,
Okay.
okay, I can't really sing, but here I go, the words to this song. So I'm singing this song, and I'm like, who sings this? And the audience, like, that's Alice Cooper or whoever it was. So I'm like, I don't know why. All of a sudden, this man in the audience puts his hand up. Or his girlfriend was like, "Put your hand up," because, men, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
anyways, he's like, "That's my dad," and I'm, like, thinking, "Well," so I'm carrying on with the messages. So
Mhm.
at the end of it all, he tells us that he is the lead singer for an Alice Cooper tribute band.
Alright, you can't make that up.
Okay, you
You
can't make
cannot.
that
No,
up,
you can't make
right?
that up. That's so cool though when you get
Like
that hit of information.
like
Alright, so you made me
And
sing
a
this
lot of
song.
times too, like one time I was like a Margaret. Okay, there's like hands, like Margaret's like such a common name.
Yeah,
But I'm like, please don't put up your hand until something really specific
yeah.
you can't just say Margaret. So what happened was everybody's got there's like 20, 30 people all have their hands up for a Margaret. We nailed it down, and the thing that nailed
Uh,
it down was I started singing the Yellow School Bus song. "Hey,
okay.
bus driver, speed up a little bit." Everybody sat down, the one woman said, "My mom was a school bus driver."
Oh, that
So
is
so
so cool.
those it's so cool. Like, I love it. It's just like, I'm like, "Wow." But also, I'm grateful that
Yes,
spirit trusts me
yes.
to deliver, and I truly believe getting back to authentic mediums,
Mhm.
spirit won't show up.
I wanna talk about spiritual ego a little bit.
Yeah.
And I like what you said earlier about what people charge, because I
Mhm.
feel like what people charge doesn't necessarily reflect the quality of the work that you're going to
Right.
receive.
Right.
Some absolutely yes, some absolutely no. That's where you have to, I like what you said, trust your gut, trust your inner wisdom, because as we do our own inner work, as we are clearing energy, as we're allowing our inner wisdom and inner guidance to come forward, it becomes easier for us to discern.
Mhm.
I feel like spiritual ego is something that we still need to be really mindful of. And I feel like there are some in this line of work who are starting to
Mhm.
believe their press a little bit. And
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on spiritual ego?
I've had some great people that I've looked at as, wow, like, for many, 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 many years, and I've looked at them kind of as mentors,
Yes.
and then I went to see them in person, and it kind of took me for a little bit of a loop. What you see sometimes is not what always you get, right?
Hmm.
I find
Right.
that spiritualism is such a huge thing nowadays, whether it's mediumship or intuitive, whatever your or tarot cards or whatever type of spiritual work you're doing. I think it's really out there now that sometimes I think people just jump on the bandwagon. Remember that TV is TV. There's things that are edited, but success doesn't happen overnight.
Nope.
It doesn't happen overnight, and I think a lot of people think, "Wow, well, this isn't working. I'll try this, or I'll try this, or
Mhm.
I'll try this," and it's fine until you find something. It's like everybody wants to jump on the spiritual bandwagon, and sometimes it's not for you. Sometimes it's not for you, and I just find I let go of people with the ego. I find it a negative. I get, like, a nauseous feeling. If something doesn't feel right with me, there's a reason for it, and I've
Mhm.
had to distance myself from people,
So have
um,
I.
that, I've done everything possible to help them and introduce them to people and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden, it's like I'm thrown out now, I took the garbage out. You know what I mean? Like, "No, screw you." Like like,
Well,
"Screw
the
you
reason I
now."
bring this up, Sherry, is because you mentioned something a little earlier. You were talking about the information that spirit brings forward,
Yeah,
and I feel like because you're setting the intention of being the receiver and getting the information from spirit, and you're setting whatever the human Sherry part of
yeah,
it aside, that spirit is honoring and recognizing, hey, this is somebody who's really in it for the right reason. And I feel like that's what helps propel your work. I really do. That's my feeling on
and
that.
I think that too, because I sincerely, sincerely just want to help in whatever way that I can. Like I had mentioned, I've had people murdered and in the worst case scenarios, like children, and I just never could imagine, and I must say that to me, we're all strong when we lose somebody, but a mother who has lost a child, they have to be the most strongest, courageous person that I could ever imagine. But when somebody sits there and they just, like, spurt things out, and you have to sit there and go, "Is this something I would want said to me?"
Mhm.
Would I want somebody to sit there and give me details of things that have happened? I've been in situations in my life where I've had somebody murdered in my family, and she was 9 months pregnant at the time as well, and the baby didn't survive. And just even as a human, not even the spiritual part of it, my grandparents had, the police show up with, photos of the baby, asking if they wanted photos of their
Oh,
grandchild.
okay.
They were like, "No, but, like,
Um,
you don't, there's just certain things you don't do. You gotta have some couth."
I agree. I'll see things when I'm working with clients.
Yes,
For example, I will see, and I think it's just a way you were talking about your library of symbols earlier,
yes,
and sometimes I'll get an image of what looks like And it's just a direct way for spirit to communicate with me. I'll see what it looks like on the head as an
Yes,
example, or it
yes.
looks like something like a sucker is sucking on the head. Well, I'm not going to tell the client unless they're like super open to that type of talk. I'm not going to say there's something sucking the energy out of you. First of all, I don't want to interpret the information, but
Yes.
the spirit is just showing me there's something here that they need to work on removing, releasing. It's an energetic. So I don't say it's a sucker. I'll reframe it in a word that's not going to bring fear into the session because this is a healing session. What you're
Yes.
doing, Sherry, is a healing
Amen.
session. So we don't want to bring more fear in. We're okay. Spirit's giving us this quick symbol. All right, great. Let's interpret this into the proper language. And I think that's part of the ethics
Yes.
of this work. I think that's really important. So if somebody's bringing a lot of fear into a session or even some of the spiritual teachings that some are out there and they're spewing fear and all that kind of stuff, I say, look, no, it's got to resonate with your heart.
It
I
it
feel like
really,
our
really does,
heart.
and I have a hard time I know suicide is a word, and it's, but I don't use that word. I find a kinder way of saying to a mother is they show me that they're responsible for their passing. I just find that that is I can't. It's a personal thing. And I just find I know suicide and it's such a big thing nowadays and with mental health and so much going on in the world and it happens so much to our young people. It just seems harsh to me, the word. And I just find for me, it might be okay for you or somebody else, but for me, and I know children who have taken their own lives, but for me, as a comfort to the person, is they show me that they're responsible for their passing. They know what I mean, right?
That is a really great reminder for those of us that are listening to this, to you speaking, that even in our everyday life, when we're mindful and when we're coming from our heart center, you can really tap into that compassion and the love for who you are with. And that's
Yeah.
what you're doing. You're tapping into the heart space and you're tapping into how is this person going to be able to best receive this information without inflicting more
More
trauma or
grief and
pain,
pain and
grief and pain.
yes, exactly. And it's just have it in your mind that you want this person at the end of your session to leave feeling so much better than when you met. And make them feel comfortable, make them feel like it's not the first time you met. Make them feel like they've known you forever. Because I truly believe they were brought into our life for a reason as well. And every single person that I have met, and I've met thousands,
Yes.
I'm gonna say thousands. I can go past hundreds now. I'm gonna say thousands.
Well, if you have events with 4 to 500
Yeah,
people, Sherry, I mean,
exactly.
it's yes. Honest
Exactly. I'm gonna say thousands.
times 20 years.
Every single one of those people heal me in some way and make me understand. They're schooling me as well, and
Oh,
they
I
make
love
me
that.
understand, and it's the school of life, and sometimes it blows me away because a session will be like I'm talking to this person as if I'm talking about my own life and the healing that went on, and I've met the most amazing people. You, Camille, Dan. I've just met so many amazing people. Some of the people I've met through this, bye-bye, but
I can attest to that too, by the way.
okay,
That's why
but
the spiritual ego question came up because I'm like, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's experienced this.
no, no, no.
I
People
I just wanna say, Sherry, that as people who have listened to this podcast know that I went through I consider it a dark night of the soul. I had a long-term marriage. I went through a divorce, which is not fun, and it really turned my life upside down, and of course, then I moved. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you mentioned grief earlier, and I just wanna share that your posts on social media, yes, a lot of times you're speaking to those who have lost loved ones in spirit, but I have been able to take away things just going through the grieving process because the ending of a long-term marriage, that is a type of death. when you were talking about grieving process, that your social media hit was just super helpful. And you mentioned earlier some workshops and some online programs that are coming up, right? I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yes, and you're going to be a guest expert on one of them.
Expert? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll do my best.
Yes, right?
I
Because it's not ego and you're being humbled. And that's why I
oh,
would send somebody to you, because you're like, I wouldn't call myself an expert, even though I think you're an expert and everybody else probably does, but you're not sitting there going, I'm it. So that right there
thank you.
is a testament of what we were speaking about
Thank you.
earlier.
Thank
I'm
you.
doing a I'm doing a 21 mindset. I'm going to call it adventure. I know it says challenge. It's just 21 days. It starts the 27th of February and it ends the first day of spring. And I wanted to end on the first day of spring because this is just like a reset before spring and the sunshine and everything. But it's everything to do with grief. Like it's February. February is such a blah month here in Canada. It's the coldest, it's gray, I know because it's my birthday month. And it's
Happy
just
birthday.
really, 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 really crappy. And we get SAD, seasonal affective disorder, right? And
Yes.
it's something to be around like-minded people. So whether it's you're grieving from the loss of somebody, whether you're just feeling crappy, whether
Yep.
you just listen, I'm a kick butt type of girl. If anything, I'll make you laugh. I have the gift of gab, as
I
you
have
can
no
tell.
doubt, yes, in you.
You know what I mean? Like I have the gift of gab. I love people. Like it's
Mm,
just somewhere there'll be a private discussion group. There's modules being sent out every day. There's so much in the modules. I know it's 21 days, but there's like a lot of stuff. There's like ebooks, there's so much, but I don't want
mm.
anybody to get all anxious thinking they have to do all this stuff every day. No, it's just take your time in that. It's $99 up
Oh, that's
until
really
February
reasonable.
14th.
This will be
Canadian,
really
which is what, $50 US? Like our dollars. I think it's yeah,
it's
it's
all over the place these days, isn't
yeah,
it?
and then I
Yeah.
think it goes to 149 as of February 14th.
Wow, that's
I
really
also have some
reasonable.
events coming up, but if they go to www.sherrygallant.com, everything is on my website and stuff like that. But I just really want people to know that, when you're driving and somebody's all over the road and don't drive by and give them the finger and start yelling and screaming and road raging at them. You don't know, that person could be looking at a text that says mom just died, or you don't know what that person is going through, right? Smile. And just like I had a guy honestly pulled a road rage on me one time. So I was just like, and then he pulled up beside me and he rolls his window down and I roll mine down and I'm just like, Merry Christmas. like driving him crazy with kindness. I had the Christmas music playing. I'm like, Merry Christmas, have a great day. Like
Okay, how could you be in a bad mood when somebody's saying that kind of energy towards you? How do you respond?
I don't know. I turned away and kept driving. He ended
Well,
up turning down the street. But another time I was in I was in a store and I was in a Walmart. And you know how I don't know about where you are, but in Canada, Walmarts have like a tiny little jewelry section in the center. And
okay.
I was got my cart and I'm going around and I walked past this section and there was this little old lady and she's like, "Do you know if somebody works here?" And I'm like, "Oh," I says, I'm not really sure, but if I see somebody, I'll send them over." I guess she wanted to look in the cabinet. So what happened was a lady's coming forward and I'm like, "Hey," I said, "there's a lady over there by the jewelry section." She yelled at me and she's like, "I know, and I'm on my way over there." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I go and I put my stuff at the teller and checking out. And I was like, "No, no, 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 no. This ain't happening." I take all my stuff and put it back in the cart and I turn and I go over to the jewelry section and I'm like, "You owe me an apology." And she's
Girl.
like, "What?" And I'm like, "You owe me an apology." And I says, "I was just trying to help the lady." I go,
Yes.
"I'm really sorry with whatever's going on in your life. And I really hope your day gets better, but that wasn't really nice." And she was like, "You're right. I'm sorry." And I'm like, "Okay, have a nice day." And then I laughed. But I was like, because that would have bothered me the whole day.
You dealt with it. You know what? That's so cool about that? 2 things. First of all, you have energetic boundaries, okay? And you just because of the love that you have for yourself, which we all are supposed to have because it starts within and then we
Mhm.
can extend it without or extend it outwards. But the other thing you did is that this person who for whatever reasons, whatever was going on, is
And
now
I
going
understood.
to have a different perspective when she's talking to the next person. So that may have completely changed the trajectory of her day and who she talked with. So, wow, great job. That takes a lot of
Yeah, I
that's
was pretty
impressive.
proud of myself.
You should
I was
be.
pretty proud of myself. I was like, "Yeah, yeah. Don't let it
Well,
go to your head."
okay, so I'm going to get back to the community that you're bringing together. So this online program that you have coming up, that's a great place for people to have a sense of community, right? Because
Yes, a
I
sense
feel
of
like a lot
community.
of people are missing that right now.
Yeah, and just come and you'll meet some amazing people, and nobody's better than anybody else. I don't care who you are or how much money you have or we're all going to the same place. And it's like, just chill and enjoy and come and just have some real conversation and hear people's stories. Hear people's stories. You don't even be shy. Like if you want to be shy and sit in the background, that's fine too. Just listening to people's stories are so healing, okay? It's so healing to listen to other people because you makes you feel like you're not alone, and nobody wants to feel alone. And when you know other people are going through the same situation as you feel like you're included in an online family. It's more or less just something for me that I've always wanted to do, and I think it's gonna be great. We have some guest speakers coming on, including you. I can't wait. You're gonna be our
Thank
medical
you.
intuitive breathwork person.
Breathwork person, yes.
Yes, your breath and yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it. This has been such a great conversation.
Thank you, Sherry.
Like,
I
I
real
it's you're so fun, and, and we have nothing written down, like, we pretty much just we wing this, and that's the that's what's so authentic about you, Lisa, you're very easy to communicate with and
Thank
talk
you,
with,
Sherry.
and it's like anybody who connects with you, it's like people are gonna think we've been friends for 50 years or 40 years, like, but that's how you make me feel to be comfortable in front of
Thank
you.
you.
And you're a really good person, and I really enjoyed this
Are
conversation.
you trying to make me cry? Because 'Cause you're starting to make me cry. Well, I
Well,
have to
then
s
it's healing because
eh,
sometimes we need somebody to tell us
um,
that.
thank you. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate you, and you don't know this, but I know how incredibly busy you are, and I know how, you've got this waiting list, you've got you're doing these big, large events, and you were so kind and gracious to come back here and be on this podcast,
Well, I'm coming
and
back.
good, and here's the thing that I remember. I will straight up say this. This journey for me started really intentionally. I guess you could call it a spiritual awakening. Really
Mhm,
started like about 8.5, 9 years ago, as you know, when
mhm.
the energy of the ancients started to come forward. And I've met some people that have gone kind of along the wayside because maybe I wasn't as popular or as well known or whatever. And it's like, but that's the thing. That's one of the cool things about having gone through this journey the last 2 or 3 years is like really doing my own inner work and my own just what needs to be cleared out, regarding
Yep.
relationships and narcissistic people that have been a lifetime theme for me since I was a child until real recently, I'll just say that. So it's been a fabulous journey, and so I love the fact that you have these tools available, and but the thing that really stood out that I've never shared with you, last summer when I was out of town, I was in England, and you sent me the nicest message. You're like, "Hey, you've been kinda quiet on social media lately. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "What?" I have to say that little message you sent me
I felt
really
something. Yeah.
touched my heart. I was in Stonehenge, I was in the UK, and it was a huge energetic transformational shift for me, which is a story for another day, but I feel the same way, Sherry. I feel like we have never met in person. That'll change
Mhm,
one of these days. I will get
mhm.
up to Canada, but you can feel the authenticity of who you are, and that I think speaks volumes. And so I love the recommendation you brought earlier, like listen to your gut, feel who resonates for you and with you. And if you are working with a medium, it's got to feel right. And you don't want it to be full of fear. You want to walk away feeling hopefully better than when you sat down. So thank you so much. I do
Can I
have one
just
more.
say one thing?
Yes, of course.
So our ourselves, this is our home, okay?
Yes.
This is our house. Every so often, we have to clean it
Oh, yeah. Or
vacuum
purge.
it out, get rid of those dust particles, those energies, but it's like your home is your sanctuary. If we don't have our home, what do we have? Don't ever allow anybody, and even our structure home, plus our body. If don't come into my home and disrespect me or give me negative vibes or anything like that. Like go away. Like your home is your sanctuary and you are to protect that with everything you have because if you don't have your home, what do you have?
That's right. Absolutely. 100%. And you
You
should,
know,
and just like you said, clearing too, you wanna energetically clear it. You can do there's different tools you can use to clear that, but it all comes to your power of intention and just asking, like you said, ask spirit. You can ask source, ask your angels, whatever you identify with, and just use your power. We're all these divine beings. We're all
mhm,
connected to this great source of energy,
mhm,
and we can step in our power and say, let's clear this energy out. And
yeah,
we're setting boundaries. Like you
yeah,
said, you're not going to let just some random person walk into your space and disrespect you, or you
yeah,
shouldn't. You
right?
shouldn't. And same with the physical body. And
Yeah,
sometimes we have to purge. When I say purge, I'm just saying there may be people in our lives that just we're not resonating. We're not on the same vibrational frequency. And that's okay. Like
and
there
there might
might,
be people in our lives like family who
oh
drive
yeah.
us crazy and stuff like that, that we can't just get rid of.
No.
But you can limit and set boundaries, and it's the
Yes.
same thing. I'm not saying get rid of, like your like
My ex-husband.
my mother and I butted heads so much,
Yeah.
mother-daughter relationship, but,
Yeah.
you just gotta love them at a distance and wish them well because you don't wanna wish harm on anybody because what we put out there comes back, and you don't wanna put hate out into the world. There's enough out there already, so just everything's a ripple effect, right? So just put some kindness out in the world and just because that's going to take it here, that person's going to take it here, that person's going to take it there, and it's just everybody just needs a hug and everybody just needs kindness, and you don't know what anybody is going through, and everybody's gone through something. So and if somebody's miserable to you, for once, it's okay, but you have to set boundaries. If it's repetitive, it's like, buddy, wow, like you gotta,
Yeah.
but no, just love one another and just do something good for somebody, whether it's holding the door open or smiling at somebody because a smile can change your whole day.
That is that's so perfectly worded. I like to think about I personally believe that we walk into this life, into this human experience, and there are people that we are meant to have in our lives. Our kids, our parents. I do believe in that soul plan. That is my not that everything is set in stone. I don't believe that. There's many paths we can take, there's many timelines available
Yeah.
to us, and that we have choices. But I like to think of, for example, when I was going through the toughest times with, say, the divorce process. I like to imagine that before I came here, that my ex-husband and I sat down or had a conversation before we ever came here and said, "Okay, we're gonna have this experience. It may be tough at times. There are gonna be many lessons we're gonna be learning, but
Mhm,
ultimately it's gonna be for our highest good." And
mhm,
that in spirit, there is all this tremendous love, and
mhm,
that we have in our human suits, and we have our we have a filter by design that we can't
mhm.
remember exactly what it's like to be in spirit, but that ultimately we have that at our core. We all are connected with that energetic spirit of love. So I like to think about, like, when you're talking about you don't know what somebody's going through, we also don't know what these lessons are and how our lives can be affected and impacted by our choices. And so when we choose love,
Yeah.
yeah,
But also, you and your husband coming together might have been the journey for your children as well, because
Oh, yes.
without the 2 of you, they wouldn't be here. So,
Yeah.
you gotta look at the positive parts of it too, like, thank him for that's, one
Mhm.
connection that you'll always have is that the
Absolutely.
2 of you, there's no other 2 people that could have made those 2 children together,
Yeah.
and, it's a special gift. Nobody wants to get a divorce. Everybody
No.
wants to have a family and have children and
Yeah.
just live happily ever after, but shit happens,
It
and
does.
but you have this glow about you. I can tell from the last time that we spoke, you completely have this glow about you, and I can see that
Thank
you
you.
have really moved forward and taken care of yourself. I would tell people, "Don't forget about yourself." Sometimes we have to be selfish as mothers, you're a mother, you're a sister, you're a daughter, you have a career, you have everything is on us, but you have to take it's not selfish. Like I said, if mom ain't happy, nobody's happy.
It is so true, and thank you for those very kind words. I feel like I was meant to go through this whole process because I understand the importance of doing our own work and releasing energies that whether you want to think of it as another lifetime or this lifetime and all the lessons that go with that. And excuse me, in order for me to understand what that felt like, I had to go through the trenches myself. And now being on the other side of going through a difficult experience, I I am so incredibly grateful, and just knowing that when we do take care of ourselves, that we then can show up and be present for those around us and be a
Take care
brighter
of them.
light and help
Yeah,
spread that light. Sherry, it has been such a pleasure to speak with you today. I am
you too,
so
Lisa.
appreciative of your time. Can you please remind us one more time of how we can find out about you and your fabulous classes
Yeah,
coming
you
up?
can go to my website, www.sherrygallant.com. On social media, they can go under your social media, and I'm sure we follow each other. And it's Sherry, Sherry. Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. Just Google me, something will come up, and it's going to be a great mindset adventure. I call it an adventure, right? Call it a course, whatever anybody wants, but I'm calling it adventure because it's going to be an adventure for me. This is for me as well.
Heck
So
yeah.
I'm really, really excited about it. But I just want to thank you too, Lisa,
Thank
for
you.
having me on. You're like this bright light, and just keep shining and take the compliments.
Thank you. Any final words that you would like to share with our listeners today? Anything that we haven't covered that you just want to make sure you say it?
Oh, God, you're going to get me started again. I have the gift of gab. I just
You're so
want
easy to talk
people
with.
to know that they're not alone, and ask for their loved ones to give them a specific message.
Okay.
They're sending messages and the signs are there. You just have to just what do you have to lose? Have an open heart and an open mind. What do you have to lose? Just really, really, and ask for them to come give you a dream visit. Ask them to visit you in your dreams, and they will. It might not happen right that moment, and just because somebody else gets signs and you don't doesn't mean that you're not loved as much as them. There's no favorites. It's just that maybe that person is going through a little something. Yeah, you're grieving, but maybe they're just going through a little extra that they need. So don't ever feel that you don't get messages or signs because somebody doesn't love you or care about you. And a lot of times people can take care of us better from where they are in spirit than they could when they were here, especially if they were dealing with addictions or mental health issues and things like that. So just they're there. You can't love somebody and then one day it's just gone. And that's what I have to say.
That is beautiful. We have so much love around us. Thank you, Sherry. I really appreciate your time today. And thank you to those of you who are joining the podcast and listening. You can find this on Spotify. You can listen on Apple as well as on YouTube. Please remember, until next time, we are fully supported, we are fully protected, and we are fully loved. Thank you. Love and
Thanks,
blessings.
Lisa.
Thank you. Any Anything shared by the guests or myself is never meant to replace a medical or mental health diagnosis. Please always see the appropriate professionals for your needs. Thank you.